Hello, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate that. I'm Doug Hayter. I'm the Senior Product Manager for EnGenius. I'm on the voice side of things. So if you're familiar with us from the Datacom side, this is the voice side. And today we are going to go through, our claim to fame, and we'll be talking about our new product, the Freestyle SIP. We'll go into a little more depth in that, but let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who may not be familiar with us, EnGenius Voice's claim to fame is range. This is why people seek us out. So we go into environments that are very large, that the employees need mobility within those environments, and really other solutions haven't worked for them. And so they will come to us because they need that range of mobility. And we'll go into some of the types of environments that we are found in, and there are many more. We've been doing this for, over 20 years with long-range cordless phones, and we're really happy to bring on the Duraphone SIP and the Freestyle SIP into the SIP category of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the types of environments that our products fit into and where we've been used in our both Duraphone SIP side, and the Freestyle SIP is expected to go into these similar types of environments. And I'll point out the difference between Duraphone and Freestyle as well. So some of the environments are like assisted living or senior living kind of places, hotels and motels, retail stores, grocery stores, those types of environments. All of these have in common that they're very large environments, and the employees need that mobility to have voice communications and be able to do their job at the same time throughout that environment. And so that's why these are the types of places that we make a ton of sense. I mentioned the Duraphone line, and that's available in analog and SIP. And I wanted to distinguish a little bit between the Freestyle, where we'll be focusing on, and the Duraphone a little bit. So the Duraphone model is long range, obviously, but it's durable. It's meant to go into environments that are a little bit more demanding, like a warehouse or manufacturing plant, someplace where you know it's being worn all day. It may hit the ground, it may bump into things, those kind of environments. Then you want to lean yourself towards the Duraphone brand family. It's still premise mobility. These are not cell phones, so it isn't like they're getting on planes and going to another city and working. This is something meant for the building, the facility itself. And they provide both phone and digital two-way radio. And the two-way radio is both broadcast and intercom. So it does all of these things, and that goes across both the Freestyle and the Duraphone platform, having that phone and two-way radio communications. So yeah, there are two brand families. One's the industrial voice, that's the Duraphone side, meant for being carried with you all day, taking the bumps and bruises. The Freestyle is more of an office phone. I call it a carry-away category in that most of the time, if you picture like a hotel, you'll have this sitting at the front desk. And periodically that person needs to grab the handset and maybe take an iron up to a room, or towels to the pool. Some errand is going on, and they'll take that handset with them. Then they'll come back and put it in the charger at the desk, so the little cradle there. So you have both the Freestyle office stuff and Duraphone, the industrial stuff, available. So I mentioned our claim to fame is long range, and the long range is really depends on the environment, as like everything that is RF. So on the Duraphone, the environment of retail warehousing, you're looking about 250,000 square feet. Now, just to give that some perspective, a Home Depot is about 100 to 150,000 square feet. So you can see this is massive area coverage off just a cordless phone. And then you'll have that same phones in a office environment or a hotel, assisted living, something with a lot of rooms, floors, things like that. You look about 12 floors of penetration and about 50,000 square feet of total coverage possible on the Duraphone stuff in that kind of environment. And then finally, in a wide open area with a picture of farm or ranch, you're looking about 3,000 acres of coverage. So just massive areas of coverage on the Duraphone. Now the FreeStyl is a little bit less, but still crazy amounts of coverage, again, off a cordless phone. In a retail environment for the FreeStyl, you're looking at about 100,000 square feet of coverage. Remember the size of the, like a Home Depot. And in an office or hotel environment, you're looking at about 6 floors of penetration and about 25,000 square feet of coverage. And then you can get about 10 acres in open area. So if they did have very large property and they had this outbuilding someplace that was their workshop or whatever, they could have that out there, take a phone with them out to the tennis courts or the pool, whatever it may be, and could do that. So all of these really large areas and give them that mobility and long range. Okay, I had mentioned that the both the models, FreeStyl and Duraphone, offer telephone communications and digital two-way radio. The digital two-way radio is broadcast, so one handset to many handsets. And intercom handset to handset, private full duplex communications. So unlike broadcast where you're really just one handset's broadcasting, intercom is more like a telephone communications. Both those digital two-way radio functions are independent of the base. So even if the power were to go down or the base failed or phone lines went down, they still have two-way radio communications with either of the product families between handsets because it is independent of the base. Neat thing is if you're like a teacher and you're going on a field trip, you can even take handsets with you and be able to have intercom communications with a parent or somebody else while you have handsets with you. And I've seen it used by coaches on football field, things like that, where they can have private communications with the line coaches. So really unique functionality both on Duraphone and FreeStyl. Okay, for today's webinar, we're going to talk about and focus a little bit more on the FreeStyl SIP 2. This is the new product that's available from EnGenius. It is a SIP platform. It's standard SIP platform that it uses just like the Duraphone SIP, if you're familiar with that. But the FreeStyl 2 actually comes with 2 handsets and a base as a package. Whereas the Duraphone SIP had 1 handset and a base. And if you're familiar with most of our systems, when we offered systems and even the analog versions, it'd be 1 handset and the base. And the other FreeStyl analog versions are 1 handset and a base. So the FreeStyl SIP 2 is a little bit different in that it includes 2 handsets and a base right as 1 set, and you can get additional handsets. So let's take a little deeper look into this. Standard SIP protocol, so it can work behind an IP-PBX or hosted SIP providers. You can have up to 10 SIP accounts or 10 handsets on that single base. You can have 4 concurrent calls going on, phone calls going on, and other folks can be doing the two-way radio communications. And it has this sleek design, unlike the Duraphone, which is that more rugged look. This is really sleek two-tone design to this. So you can maybe see that better in the picture with the cradle of having that black and that gunmetal gray. So the handset is the same way. The back side of it is black, and you have the silver gray as the faceplate. Okay, so that Freestyle Step 2, 2 handsets, 2 cradles, 2 batteries, 2 antennas, and the single base. So everything you need is included with this, comes with it, it's part of the package. You can get additional handsets. Remember, the system itself can have up to 10 handsets, 10 SIP accounts in that system. And everything is included, so you don't have to buy batteries. Once you get the system, you don't have to go out and buy batteries or belt clips or any of that. It's all included with that set. And if you buy additional handsets, those same accessories are included with the additional handset. And that also comes with another charging cradle. So just all set to go right out of the box. The MSRP on the Freestyle SIP 2 is $399.99, so just under $400 for 2 handsets and the base with all this long range and the 2-way radio and the intercom. So really, really attractive price point. Okay, some of you may be aware that EnGenius uses 900 megahertz for its frequency, and we're not using Wi-Fi, we're not using DEC, so it's a little different in that it uses the 900 megahertz, and that gives us a couple of advantages. Remember, our claim to fame is long range. That long range is really brought about by a low frequency. Low frequencies tend to travel further. The waves tend to travel further than higher frequencies. And then it allows us to put a punch behind it. So instead of being a 200 milliwatts or 300 milliwatts of output power, we can be just under 1 watt, so almost 1,000 milliwatts of output power. So we have this low frequency, this high output power allows us to get that long range that we're famous for. So that differs a little bit from DEC. DEC is a really, really popular system used, especially with the SIP. That's a high frequency. DEC is 1.9 gigahertz in the frequency band, and it typically will put out 200 milliwatts of output power. So that's why if you're familiar with DEC, a lot of times you'll have multiple bases or repeaters to try to increase that coverage. We can do all that coverage and more off a single base because of that low frequency and high output power. So it means less infrastructure and less failure points, if you will, with our system with that its long range from the Freestyle SIP versus a SIP DEC system, if you will. How about Wi-Fi phones? Well, obviously, we're a Wi-Fi company as well. The Wi-Fi, you already have your access points up, and so I can get reasonably good coverage if I don't have to put in additional infrastructure. Drawback, it's even higher frequency. So Wi-Fi, as you know, 2.4, 5 gig. And there are a lot of things competing for that bandwidth. So, already have your laptops and your tablets and your cell phones and security cameras all after that same frequency band, that same Wi-Fi antenna, as then you could add voice to that and compete with that same frequency, the same bandwidth. So again, we've chosen not to. We're at 900 megahertz, so we don't use the Wi-Fi at all, and we can put that high power behind it to get that range again. So no demands on the Wi-Fi, no interference problems with that, because it's not even close to the same frequency, and I'm not competing with all those other devices for that bandwidth. Okay, we're going to do a quick stop here at the analog Duraphone Pro platform. And the only reason I'm doing this is if you're familiar with the analog Pro stuff, the Duraphone stuff, this has been recently separated into two separates instead of those kits we were just talking about. So we have the Duraphone Pro 4-port base, and we have a Duraphone PSL single line base. Those are compatible with each other. So if you needed 5 ports or 5 lines, you could get a 4-port base and a single port base, and those will work together. And the handsets, you can just select what handsets make sense for you. You have Duraphone Pro handsets, you have Duraphone UHF handsets, and you have Durawalkie handsets. All of those are compatible with either of these bases. They're just purchased separately now. So you would order a base unit by itself, and then you'd order the handsets by itself. So I wanted to make a quick stop here with that just because it was a fairly recent change. So if you had any questions on that, that's what's happened. Because like we've gotten the comment that, oh, you guys discontinued the Duraphone Pro? Not really true. We discontinued how it was packaged together as a set, but all that components are still available. All right, and then I'm going to talk about the Duraphone SIP. And so this has been out for about a year or so. It is Duraphone, so it's rugged. It is SIP based, standard SIP protocol. It works on the 900 megahertz. It doesn't use the Wi-Fi. It's a 4 concurrent calls, 10 handset system, just like the Freestyle SIP 2. And the neat thing with this, it's compatible with the Freestyle SIP 2. So if you had a customer that, oh, I need a bunch of office handsets where so my staff can, have these, and that's fine. But I have a couple of people that work stock room or out in the loading docks. They could purchase the Duraphone SIP handset and link it to the Freestyle SIP base and part of those 10, and then mix and match those. So it gives you that flexibility of being able to choose which handset you want and basically which system you want. So you don't have to get the Duraphone SIP base unit if you're mixing and matching the Freestyle SIP with the Duraphone SIP handset. All right, let's go into some of the things that are available also on the Freestyle SIP, just so that you're comfortable with that. As I just mentioned, the Duraphone SIP handset can be used with the Freestyle SIP 2 system. But you know that our claim to fame is range, and our other systems, the analog and the Duraphone SIP systems, have outdoor and indoor external antennas that would take the place of the rubber duck antenna that's on the base. For the Freestyle SIP 2 base, that base unit also has a removable rubber duck antenna that would allow you to put an external antenna onto it, or a splitter, so if you had to run a couple of antennas, go up a couple floors, down a couple floors, things like that, that could happen as well on the Freestyle SIP 2 system. Remember though that this antenna that's attached is reverse thread. It has a unique adapter per the FCC for us. It has a unique adapter, so don't get the wrench out. These are only hand tightened, so just go the opposite direction. So to remove the antenna, you would go clockwise, and that would unscrew the antenna from the base. Don't get the wrench out. It's a very costly mistake to get the wrench out. So just hand loosen that, then you'll attach the coax of the antennas to there. Okay, Getting into a little bit of the meat of what I wanted to go through on the Freestyle SIP. There are a number of resources available to you on the EnGenius Tech website, and I want you to know where to find them and what's there. Where do I go? So on the EnGenius Tech website, you would go to, obviously, to the voice stuff, the phone stuff, and you'll find the Freestyle SIP listed there. And you'd go into that page, and on the product page, you're going to find a middle section here that's called resources. And the resources have everything most people need, right? It is where you find the user's manual. It's where you find, the quick setup guide, the data sheet, things like that are all in that resource section. But there's a couple of items I wanted to call out to you just so that you're familiar that they're there. One is the RSSI tool. We'll be talking a little bit more about that tool because it's extremely important to get the best coverage for the phone systems. But the Freestyle SIP's RSSI tool instructions are here on the resource page. So it tells you how to access the tool and, what are you looking for, how to use the tool, and that's all there in that resource section. And we'll talk about the tool here in a second. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is because there's so many hosted providers, and some of the things basically of what they're called differ a little bit. So we've gone ahead, and this will continue and we'll keep adding more, but we've gone and made videos and PDFs of the basic setup of our system with their service. So there's 4 or 5 pieces of information that you need from the hosted provider, from the IP-PBX. And, we identify what that is, getting those items, and you can follow along. If you'd rather watch it like a YouTube video, we've got videos. If you prefer to have something, on a piece of paper or on your phone that you can, flip through and look at it that way on a PDF, we have it that way as well. So this is a great place to go find those things. You'll see there's going to be a lot of commonality between the different providers, but some of them call different things different, and you can see, oh, that's what they mean. That's what I need. So you can find that all right there. It's a great thing to have in these resources. If you would like to have had something, you're dealing with something we don't have here, and are willing to make some notes for us, let us know. We'll publish that as well. We want to make this as easy as possible for you. The other thing as I mentioned, that we have the quick setup guide. The quick setup guide kind of goes through the basics in general on all the different providers, kind of the commonality, and highlights really the 4 items we need to get from the service provider. And hey, what are those, and where do they end up going? So you'll find that in the quick setup guide. Where's the quick setup guide? Resource section of the product page. So it's a great thing. The quick setup guide comes in the box as well. So you actually get a piece of paper that's in the box that goes through this. So if you need to reference that real quick, you can just grab one out of the box. Otherwise, it's available as a PDF online in the resource section on the product pages. All right. I said I wanted to talk a little bit about the RSSI tool. This is a really cool tool that makes sure that you're getting this set up in the best area for the coverage. Do I talk a lot about coverage? Range. This is our thing. This is why people are buying us. Yeah, getting this right is so important. And the tool itself, you saw where the instructions are on the resource section of the product pages. Going to spend a next slide or two telling you a little bit more about the RSSI tool. What the RSSI tool is, it is a digital readout of the received signal strength indicator, right? RSSI, received signal strength indicator. So it's a digital readout of how strong that signal is between the base and the handset. And so it'll give you the opportunity to determine, hey, am I getting good signal here? And is this the best area to put the base antenna? Or do I need to move that to a different area? The RSSI tool is not a special handset. It's available in any handset. It doesn't cost anything. It's built in. You just need to know how to get at it. And that's why the instructions are there on the web page. So the RSSI tool gives you this digital readout, and we'll talk about that here in the next slide. All right, using this tool. So with the RSSI tool, in finding the best location for the base unit, what do you do? So you're bringing up the tool in the handset, you put power to the base. Do you have to connect SIP lines or analog lines to the base to use this? No, just need power to the base. Power to the base, a charged handset, get into the RSSI tool, put the base in the starting location. So in this diagram, so you're going to need to get a hand sketched or a little document of the floor plan, just so you remember what the readings were in different areas. And then you're going to do some walking. So you put the base in this diagram near that big red number 2. It says BS1. That stands for base station 1. That's my first position that I've tested the base in. So with that, I ran around this facility and tested it in different areas. So let's go to the big red 1, and you can see where it says number 1-50. That is base station 1 location, and I got a reading of -50. The closer to 0 you get, the better the coverage. So as you might expect, I'm relatively close to this base, so I'm getting really good coverage. So -50, all's good there. I go over to the near the big red 3, and I'm getting base station 1 -62. Still really good reading here, so I have good coverage there. Let me go over to the pool. -74. That's near the big red 7. -74. That is still good reading. So I'm going to have coverage out there, be able to make and receive phone calls, all of that. If I go back to the red number 5, I can see I'm -88. Right about -85 to about minus probably 95. You're going to get some interference. You're going to get a little staticky, may break up a little bit. So that's not perfect. You probably still maintain connection with the call, but it wasn't a good, solid quality call. Anything above -85. So I want to try to find a different area to have the base put in and then run around and test these again. So I move the base near the big red number 6, and you can see it says base station 2, my second area to test the base. I run over there to red 1, -63, good signal. Over by the red 3, -50, great signal. Go to the pool, -74 again, good signal. Over where it was bad before, near the number 5, red 5, I get -72. So I have really good signal there. So this is the area that the base should go into, the base antenna. So the base could be put into a closet. You run an external antenna out and get it into this area in an open area of it. Or if you can mount the base on a wall, in a false ceiling, anything. Really no functionality on our bases once you have the system set up and registered. Uh, you can, run cabling or phone lines um, to that area, power, all that kind of stuff. Put the base there and you're good to go. So you found the best area to get the best coverage for whatever facility you're in. And that's what you want to do with the RSSI. Okay, accessory wise, I had mentioned we have indoor antennas, outdoor antennas. That's the one on the far left. So I have the outdoor antenna. Both of those have 65 feet of coaxial cable, 20 meters of cable. Remember, they have those unique adapters and it's on both ends. So there's a reverse thread TNC adapter on the end that goes to the base unit, and there is a reverse thread N type adapter on the part that goes to the antenna. And it, regardless whether it's the indoor antenna or the outdoor antenna, you have the cable, machine cable that comes this way as a kit. Those connectors are already on, but they are reverse thread. So, and they're extremely difficult to find. We do not sell them. So it is part of this kit. So don't cut the cable, don't cut the connector off. It won't work with the antenna. It does take these reverse thread adapters. The other thing is, I'm going to point out, obviously, you recognize a battery, cases. Yeah, we have all those, belt clips. We have all that stuff. The other thing is at the very bottom of the slide, you see a device there with like two connectors on one end and one connector on the other end, and it's a square box. That's the antenna splitter. If you remember in a previous slide, I had mentioned about, hey, I could take an antenna and run it up a couple floors or down a couple floors, and I can have two antennas, right? I can have an indoor antenna and an outdoor antenna. I can have two indoor antennas, two outdoor antennas, whatever, mix and match there. It's a 50-50 splitter. So the signal from the base is then split half to one antenna, half to the other antenna. But if you're trying to fight through obstacles instead of going above or around those obstacles, don't do that. Yeah, that RSSI is going to tell you you're going to get much better to go around them than try to fight through an obstacle. So use a splitter. Take that up a couple of floors. Use the other antenna, go down a couple of floors like a hotel scenario. Or if you're an auto dealership, have an antenna outside and an antenna in the showroom. Yeah, that's all good. So really, really popular item is the antenna splitter with the antennas. With the outdoor antenna, there's also a lightning protection kit. So a little surge arrestor. So if you're in an area that is prone to thunderstorms, then you want to use a surge arrestor or lightning protection kit and put that in place before the between the base and the outdoor antenna. All right, so last three items I wanted to go over with you guys are a couple of specialty handsets that are on the Duraphone Pro system. It's not available for the SIP as of yet, but it is available on the Duraphone Pro platform. That's the PSL or the Pro base. And this one is the Durawalkie. The Durawalkie is a digital two-way radio only handset. So it's no direct access to phone lines. So if you have folks that just need two-way radio, then this is a good handset to choose. These are completely compatible with the PSL base, the Pro base. It will work with the Pro handset as well. That's the full featured one with phone and the two-way radio. This is just the two-way radio. It does both broadcast and intercom functionality, just like the Pro handset does. But the unique thing with this versus any other two-way radio is not only broadcast and intercom, but a call can be transferred to it from a full featured handset. So if somebody does have a Duraphone Pro handset and they get a phone call, but the information the caller is looking for is better handled by somebody who's running around with a Dura walkie handset, that Pro handset can transfer the call to the Durawalkie, and the Durawalkie user can get the call and be on the phone with the caller. But as soon as they hang up the call, then they're locked out again. So it gives a lot of flexibility and advantage to folks that are, hey, I've got some, warehouse workers that really don't, take calls, or that's not their responsibility, but being able to get them to, answer a question, or, take a call that I transfer to it. This is a great solution, having the Durawalkie handset available. The other one I wanted to talk about is our Duraphone UHF handset. Now, the UHF handset is our only dual radio handset. So it's dual modes in this. When I say that, what I mean is that it has a radio that works at that 900 megahertz frequency. So that, frequency that we're using on all of our platform, FreeStyl, Duraphone, all of them use 900 megahertz. But it has a second radio in it at the UHF frequency. UHF frequency is about 460 megahertz, so it's a really low frequency, and it's used by third-party UHF radios. These are these licensed radios, right? So in a warehouse or a retail store where they already have deployed a bunch of analog UHF radios, but the manager has to carry a radio and a telephone with them. This combines it all in one. So for the supervisors, managers, shift leads, where they need to be able to get a phone call, but they also need to talk to all the folks that are running around with analog UHF radios from third-party makers like Motorola, Kenwood, those kind of folks. Here's the solution for them, that they can use the analog UHF frequencies, program it to match whatever they have licensed, and still have our 900 megahertz phone communications. And yes, you can still do digital two-way radio between any of our Pro platform compatible handsets. So again, another product with lots of flexibility to it, meant for business, large environments, and gives you that flexibility to offer that with our system. All right, this is the Duraphone Pro base unit. And there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Now, remember, this is the 4-port base. It's expandable up to 8 bases. So you could have 32 ports. You could have up to 90 handsets on the Duraphone side. This base can do something special as well. It can allow you to make a broadcast from a desk phone through the base to the handsets, the Duraphone handsets, by going through a phone call. I could use a cell phone and make a broadcast to them. Now, it is only broadcast, they can't get it back through, but if they are just saying, hey, I'm a school principal and I want to get maintenance over to you know, the boys' restroom on the 3rd floor, I could broadcast to the maintenance group and tell them that there's a problem with the boys' restroom on the 3rd floor. So lots of potential here. It does take up 2 of the ports. Remember, there's 4 ports on this. It takes up 2 of them to do that functionality, but I can do that and have that ability to use a desk phone to broadcast through this base and get the advantage of the base unit's placement. Remember that RSSI centralized placed the base, or the antennas, if there was a indoor antenna or an outdoor antenna attached to this instead of the rubber duck, I could take advantage of that by doing this broadcast through the base. And the other thing I wanted to bring up on this is there is a special order version of this base that takes away all the phone lines, but it becomes just a repeater base for the 2-way radio. And again, because that RSSI allows you to put the base in a central area, you could broadcast from a handset to another handset or a group of handsets using all the capabilities and the placement of the base if you ordered the special order repeater base. But you can't have phone lines attached to that special order base. So I wanted to bring that up. And then finally, I wanted to talk about another set of accessories I have available, and it is the headsets for all the handsets, from the FreeStyl SIP handsets to all the Duraphone, with the exception of the Duraphone UHF, and the FreeStyl analog handsets. It's a headset capability. There are 2 headsets that are available for those units. One is the over-the-ear, but doesn't go in your ear type. And the other one is one of those security ones that plug into your ear. They are both just one set, you know, one ear piece. So you leave your other ear open. And so what you know, extremely popular is the over-the-ear type because people can wipe it clean and it wasn't in somebody's ear canal and then change shifts. But that both of those are available, and they work with any of those handsets that we talked about. So gives you a lot of flexibility, and they also work with the FreeStyl SIP 2 system. So if they need headsets, that's a good solution for them. And so definitely ask about those. Then I think, yeah, I'm ready for any questions that you might have. I know we have another 10 minutes or so here. So if you have any questions or if anyone has any comments, now's a good time to share those.
Awesome, thanks, Doug. I'm monitoring the question box, but I don't see any questions just yet. But I wanted to see if Mike or Steve wanted to interject here and add anything that they wanted to add.
I'll interject. This is Steve. I'm the business development manager here at Streakwave for voice and video conferencing solutions. And I just wanted to mention, I think Doug did a great job covering it, but these are open standard SIP device units. So what does that mean? It means that any PBX platform that's based on open standard SIP, these are generally compatible. Now, are they certified with every platform? No, because they haven't been through their testing with them. But the reality is that it's basically username, account, you know, password type credentials, and then it should register. So don't be afraid of this. If you have a PBX that doesn't have this listed as a device, EnGenius has support. They'll help work through that with you. And this should attach. Let's talk about proprietary systems like ShoreTel, MyTel, Avaya, and Cisco call managers. They all offer what's called open standard licensing, or non-proprietary. Yeah, non-proprietary device licenses. So it might cost you a license, but then you have an open SIP port that essentially becomes open standard SIP, and those can register there. So these are widely adopted across a bunch of different platforms, certified or not. And they, I think Doug showed you that the range part of this makes this highly unique, and it fits in certain environments extremely well where other devices have problematic, either with Wi-Fi capacity or with range capacity and things like that. So I think this is a great device for a lot of those environments that are challenging.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Let me add just on some of the environments here, because I know that, we're all coming off of the COVID lockdown, things like that. So maybe if I point out some of the places that are have been just going nuts for us recently. As you know, the things that have done well during COVID has been grocery stores, doing a ton of SIP in grocery stores already. And another one is service centers. And when I say that, I'm talking about auto and truck service centers where they are doing, like tires or oil changes, things like that. And whether it's for, big diesel trucks or it's for standard you're in our car, those are doing really well. Assisted living could never stop, right? And it became more and more important to them to have good voice communications, because the families couldn't even get in to see their relatives. And now there's this surge where everyone kind of were hesitant to put mom into the assisted living during COVID. Well, now there's this big surge again of new residents coming in, and so this demand's going up. And so we're seeing in those three come to mind really quick, of just continuous demand for product. And there is the, as you know, chip shortages going on now. There's logistics issues. You've seen their ports here in LA. So it's one of those things that the sooner you know and work with Mike, the better off they are to get in and place these orders for those kind of environments.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug and Steve. Mike, I know that you wanted to say something as well, so go ahead. You need to unmute yourself, Mike.
Sorry, I think just to double tap the point on range. I've seen the range on these devices firsthand. It's quite surprising. Here at Streakwave, we do a lot of different type of licensed and unlicensed radio systems, and we understand frequency, and it matters in terms of range. It's just that simple, range and coverage. And to be able to do this with a single base, occasionally an antenna, but the infrastructure demands up front to deploy this are minimal, as opposed to a lot of APs or a lot of repeaters and so forth. So it's incredible what it takes to plunk this base down and get the voice quality that you're looking for. And lastly, I'll just throw a shout out to the partner program that if you're not already a partner, there's a great sales support team for pre and post sales with EnGenius. There are discounts available as well. And so, this product line has been around well over a decade. It's got an amazing proven track record in the field, and this Freestyle SIP 2 is just the latest addition at a very attractive price point, and of course in the SIP world that's really commonplace now. So anyway, thanks again, Doug.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Feel free to reach out to Steve or EnGenius if you have any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day, everyone.